Take your time lining it up. You know, this is forever. This is
Yeah.
evergreen for us.
Yeah, sure is.
You know, when we're 70, we still
Yeah.
we want to be like, God, we were hot. I mean, you're hot. I'm aging. I still can't believe
This is totally evergreen.
I can't believe that I'm turning 56.
Yeah?
Like, yeah. I still feel like I'm 30
I bet. Yeah.
because I'm still doing the same shit, but it's better because I can afford it. See, kids, what you can grow up to be.
Right?
We in our element.
We are 100,000% in our element right now. This is crazy.
Oh, good morning.
Good morning.
Look at where we are.
I know. Eugene?
We're in the Lorain Valley of Oregon.
Okay, that's near Salem.
It's
right?
near Eugene.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you're on the outskirts of Eugene. And it's basically, we're close to wine country.
Ooh.
And I believe the road that we're on takes us out to the coast too. A very long route, kind of winding way.
You said like 24 miles as a crow
As the crow flies, we're
Yeah.
from Eugene. That's how close we are to the ocean.
This is exciting.
And it's only 90 minutes from the mountains. It's a beautiful spot to live. I love
It
it.
is beautiful.
Mhm.
So we're here with the ninth element, Mindy.
Thank you, Stephen, for having me.
So
Are you
exciting.
kidding? It's an honor.
Hell yeah. I mean, we drove. Oh, I'm gonna zip this up.
Mhm.
I didn't notice that was unzipped.
Yeah.
Better that way.
Okay.
All the little details matter.
Yes, they do.
They really do. You know.
Hair and makeup.
That's right. You look great. You got,
Thank
got
you.
lights shining on you.
Oh, woobin.
So we're here with Ninth Element, Mindy.
Yeah.
And you have a YouTube channel where you share your travels and how you live out of your Honda Element. And I have so many questions. I have so many
I
questions.
love it, and I want to share them and inspire you and everyone else.
Hell yeah, that's awesome. So tell us a little bit about how you decided to move into your Honda Element and how that journey started for you.
Well, it was a fantasy, I think, like a lot of people. And ever since I had purchased the Element, I'd always dreamt of having it with this badass lift and a build out in it. And so I tried to do the build inside of it by myself with things from around my house, and then it progressed into what it is now. But Vanlife picked me, really, in a crunch, because I sold my house in 48 hours at the height of the market, which also means I don't want to purchase right now because the market's crazy and I'm not sure where I want to buy and build.
What time did you sell the market? Sell it during 2020?
In April of 2023,
Okay.
my house went up on the market, and at the same time, I had been doing a professional build inside my Honda Element with a cabinet maker here in Eugene, and it was completed the night before my house went up on the market, and then my house sold in 48 hours. And I don't know what I was thinking, but it was like, I didn't think about the next step of like, oh, is it going to be hard to find property affordable quickly? I just hadn't put that together because, you know, I'm a single person and I was getting the house ready for sale all by myself. So I was selling, donating, or giving away 95% of my stuff out of an 1,100 square foot house. So I had 3 fully furnished bedrooms and a 500 square foot garage. You can see all this content on my channel. It's not embarrassing now because of where I am, but at the time it was shameful, like how much stuff I had for one person.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. I mean, I'm a creative person, so I collected a lot of gear,
Oh, you're a gearhead.
things. Oh yeah. I'm like, you see me with gear or like nice vehicles, I'm like, ooh, look at that, you know, like I'm really excited about that. So pardon me, my eyes.
No worries. If I may
Yeah,
ask,
ask me anything.
so you sold your property,
Mm-hmm.
and did you have intentions when you sold the property, like, okay, the next step is to move into my
No.
Honda? Okay, so you were just building out a Honda Element as
Yeah.
like a camper.
And also and I was also at the same time I was preparing to sell my house because I knew the market was getting hot. But I kind of when I was doing that part, I didn't realize how hot the market was. So I thought that I had 5 or 6 months to like It's going to be on the market for a while. And I was just going to go travel, like vacation, while it was listed, so I didn't have to keep cleaning it and stuff, and the realtor could take care of it. And I just thought it was going to sit there for a few months. And then while I was traveling, I thought, oh, I can just figure out what the next step is. But I mean, I was catapulted into van life happily. I mean, I'm very blessed and lucky that I had something to go into. And so I was like, you know what? I have always fantasized about this. I mean, really, and now's my opportunity. I'm able-bodied and I'm financially free. So
Oh.
I'm just going to hit send.
Wow.
And I did it. And we're into, this is month 20.
That is crazy. That is absolutely crazy. So
Yeah.
the house sells 48 hours, and now, Mindy, you're like, okay, I've got the element. It's built out. I'm
Yeah.
just gonna hit the road. Let's do
Totally.
it. Who did you like watch YouTube? Like, what inspired you to actually try van life?
Oh, so I was van life before it was a hashtag or a
Ooh,
thing.
okay, yeah.
I'm
tell
not
us about
afraid to
that.
say in
Yeah.
2 days I'm going to be 56.
Hey.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And so in my 20s, I had 2 Volkswagen buses and 2 Westfalias.
No way.
Yeah.
That's the dream.
Yeah, totally.
So cool.
Except they break down.
Right.
And I'm not even interested in being mechanically minded.
Totally.
So, and I had a very thirsty quest for long travel. I never trusted, I mean, those things always let me down.
I see.
But they always lifted me up too, because they were great for base camp. So I didn't take them too far from my home base in Canada. Like I would just, take them from, I lived at a ski hill in the Okanagan, and I would take the van from there out to Hot Spring. Look at that,
Wow,
it's
the
beautiful.
rain is starting to... This is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, we are in our element.
Yeah, we are in our element, out of the elements. Comfortable
For
too.
sure, yeah.
I know it's amazing. It's November and it's raining outside and we're just cozy in here. Like I'm quite comfortable.
Great.
So yeah, I would take the vans probably 1 or 2 hours away from my house out to Hot Springs and spend like 4 or 5 days and then come back, or go and camp in the parking lot at a ski hill because you can save money. And I'd sleep in the van and then go skiing the next day.
Wow.
And then in the spring, the longest trip I ever took one of my vans on was from the interior to Galiano Island and to some remote part on this island, and the van broke down.
Tell me geographically where those islands are.
So the Galiano Island is one of the British Columbia islands off of Vancouver Island.
Okay.
So it's kind of like Washington has little islands. Well, so off of our big island, which is called Vancouver Island, which is where Victoria is.
Okay.
A lot of people know where Victoria is. It's off of Victoria in one of those little islands.
So you did this in your 20s?
Yes, I was probably about 28 or 29 then. And I would go by myself then. Yeah, so, and I was doing that. And then...
So this, when you did the element, it was no big deal.
What I knew that I wanted to do what I'm doing right now in the element. I just had to get financially there and freed from corporate America to do it.
Yeah, okay.
So, and then when I was 29, I decided to sell the Volkswagen van. And I owned 2 cars at the time. So I owned a Nissan Micra, which most Americans wouldn't know what that vehicle is. It's a gray fleet vehicle to Canada and the UK. It's equivalent to like a Ford Festiva.
Okay, so just like a compact.
I built a camper in it.
Of course you did.
So I took out the back seats and I had a platform bed in the back and storage underneath. And I had a tent and things like that. And I drove it from Silver Star Mountain, British Columbia to Cabo San Lucas, Baja California, all the way down by myself.
Wow.
I wanted to trade skiing that winter for surfing.
I see.
So I landed on living at San Pedrito, which is outside of Todos Santos, which is now, it's now what, 2023? This was 1997. It was just beautiful beaches, unpopulated, built up. Now it's all condos and it's, so you couldn't do that there now, but you can do that in other places down there.
So how'd you settle on that? You just like, oh, this is a good spot to surf?
The internet had been out for 2 years.
Okay, yeah.
It was 97.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine and so it's so funny. Paper maps, do you remember what paper maps are, people? Like I used to carry this paper map of
Thomas Guides.
Baja around with me. And when I met people at the ski hill that had been there, I would make markings on the map and make notes of these places. And then somebody on the internet found Todos Santos for me and San Pedrito and said, that's where you want to go. So I did it. I mean, I didn't have this phone with GPS or anything. I'm traveling on these.
I mean, where do you figure out how to sleep? I mean, like,
I was luckily given enough advice that so you want to cross Baja. You don't want to spend any time like beyond 4 hours south of Tijuana, like between that point and Guero Negro, which is where the whales migrate from there to up here and have their babies and stuff. I think that's the area, right? Yeah. And so there's a place called the Cactuses. It's like in the middle of the desert. A lot of crimes happen there and things. So I would just get up at 4:30 in the morning, on the road by 5, drive 12 hours straight, only stopping to gas, set down in Guero Negro, which is sort of like the halfway point. Do the same thing the next morning, but down to Cabo. I mean, I'm not a Cabo San Lucas kind of girl,
okay.
but so I ended up in Todos Santos.
Wow.
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know how I made it out alive. But short to shorten this story, the end of my trip ended up with my transmission going
Back in down in Mexico or up in
at
Canada?
at San Quintin,
Oh.
which is like one of the most dangerous areas on the Baja coast. They have air runways there. Oh, hello, Lulu. We have a van life
Hi.
kitten. Come on up. Come on. Come on. Get up here. There we go. We'll add a cat. We'll add a cat to the video.
Right.
So,
I love this. Oh, where
Lulu.
you going?
Lulu, I think she wants to be with you.
Right.
So, anyways, this area, a lot of like many deaths happen weekly in this area. It's there where there's all these landing strips for planes, and drugs are brought into that area, and that's where they're distributed in North America.
Oh,
Is from that area.
Mm.
At least this is what the rumor is.
Right.
So my car is a Gray Fleet vehicle, so of course they don't have a part in Mexico for it. The rest of my car is in good shape. So back then, we had cell phones, but it was like $45 to make a 3-minute call or something at the time.
Yeah.
So I had things set up with friends in Canada to receive fax from me.
Okay. Yep.
So I would write a letter, go to the store.
Stop it.
I would fax the letter up to Canada. They would get a call from wherever, if they didn't have the fax machine at their house. Like my parents would go to the grocery store in the neighborhood and get this fax.
All right. Hold on. You might have to explain what a fax is. I'm not even joking. Like.
No, seriously. So a fax machine is a machine that you feed in letters and they're transcribed through the phone line and then they're printed out on the other end. So it's like getting a letter, but it's electronic. It's like the real fancy way of getting a letter.
Wow.
So I faxed my friend in Canada and then I called him and I said, okay, I want you to call Rocky Mountain House, which is a pick-apart place up in northern BC. I want you to order a transmission, a rebuilt transmission from them. And this is before 9/11 and all the, what you can take on the airplane. He had the and he also had access to my bank account in case something went wrong, because you have to have a travel buddy like that, someone you can rely on. And I didn't want my parents to rely on anything like this because I didn't want to freak them out, because they didn't want me to go to Mexico anyways. And they just would have been like, leave the car there, we're coming in, like it just would have stressed them out.
Yeah.
So he called Rocky Mountain House, ordered the transmission, had it shipped to him. He put it in a Rubbermaid container, flew to San Diego, rented a car and drove across the border. So where I broke down, this lovely Latino family took me in.
Wow.
Let me camp in the compound of this junkyard of this garage for 5 days while I was waiting for everything to happen. And I became like, Miss Canada celebrity there. Like I was like this pet, in this junkyard cage. People would come by and they would like stare at me like, because I'm camping in a junkyard. I mean, I was sleeping in my tent there outside of my car waiting for this transmission to arrive. So he brings the transmission. They dropped it into my car for $50.
Wow.
It was like between my friend's flight, buying the transmission, his car rental and all that, it cost me like 4 times less. And my friend got to go on a little vacation with me.
That's amazing.
So
what a story. So now I have a question, because you broke down in what was, at your first impression, like a dangerous part
I
of
was
Mexico.
scared.
Right.
That was when I finally realized I made a bad decision and like, oh my God, what am I doing? And I still didn't speak very good Spanish.
Sure.
But
But
people are so kind.
so that's what I'm getting at is like,
Yeah.
so all of a sudden you broke down the
Yeah.
most seemingly the most dangerous part of Mexico,
Yeah.
but then you had this experience of this lovely family who took you in. Did you feel scared after that point still?
No.
Okay.
No, because after that, I realized my fear was being fed to me by the news
Right.
and people that are afraid.
Right.
I mean, crime happens everywhere, but you know what? I had more problems with American people in Baja than I did with the Mexicans.
Really?
I mean, I love the Latino culture. I mean, I got invited into homes, onto yachts, onto whatever, you
Yeah.
know, for dinners and festive, you know, festivities. They wanted to practice their English. I wanted to practice my Spanish. It was this amazing experience, and it changed the trajectory of my life. Like,
Really?
it just changed the trajectory for me, because I was in fear before I left, but I was very curious,
Yeah.
and I wanted to test my muscle about stepping outside of my country, outside of I mean, I was living at a bougie ski resort. It was like, it's like God's country. It's gorgeous. I mean, artesian water, clean air, you know, snows all night, face shots of powder every day. I mean, it's mountain biking. And I mean, I had this amazing life, but it was like I wanted more. I wanted to see more that didn't involve the who's who's and the what's
Yeah.
what's, you know?
We in like Mexican culture, maybe in all Latin culture, Mexican culture for sure, there's this thing, mi casa es su casa,
Yes.
right? And like, it seems cliche, but whenever I've gone into like a Mexican household, it's always like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
this is your home.
Oh,
Like, make
yeah.
yourself at home, make yourself comfortable. And I imagine there's still like gang violence and like drug cartels and stuff like that.
That's where the cartel hangs out.
Yeah, but I feel
But I mean, that's happening in this country. It's happening in my country. Like, I'm Canadian, so it happens everywhere. It's just what is out. What can you see and what's hidden?
yeah, and also like what is put out there on the news. Like
Oh,
this
the
is what you're gonna
news.
see. You're gonna see the worst of the worst,
Yeah.
and that can turn a lot of people off to like,
Yeah.
especially this lifestyle of
Mhm.
traveling and living in a van
Yeah.
or an element.
An element.
Yeah.
Yeah. I call it a van, but it's not. No, and so like I also stopped watching the news as a teenager because I have high anxiety, and it would just make me so sad and upset. And my parents were like, "Okay, you can't watch the news,"
Yeah.
because they would shut it off. I'm like, "Oh, the world's so terrible, boy." You know, I'm like, "What can we do?" And my parents were like, "Calm down," but like just the news did that to me as a teenager. And then, you know, I started dipping my toe in like traveling around BC, and I would always come down to like Seattle and didn't quite make it as far as to Oregon, but I did a lot at Washington. We had a cabin on Mount Baker as a kid too, so we would go there. So I would like kind of play around in Washington. So that was my going out of the country or going to Hawaii. And I don't know, I wanted to go farther. I wanted to see more. I wanted to grow as a person. I wanted to try new things. And I wanted to see if what everyone was saying was true, and it wasn't. You know, like the world isn't a bad place, and bad things don't happen to everybody. And I'm not saying that they don't happen. You know, I did travel smart. I had a plan. And there were situations when I was in the Baja for 6 months where I was like, oh my God, what's going to happen? And like, is this where I get raped, robbed, or killed? I mean, I was in situations like that. I was misidentified for another woman that was dealing coke.
Oh whoa.
And whoever they are, if they're the DCL or Bandidos or whatever, they came down to this beach full force looking for me because her name was Marla and my name is Mindy. And she was blonde. But I was in a little tiny car and she was in the truck, so that's a big difference between us. But I mean, she was legit dealing coke.
Oh, wow.
And I don't do that kind of stuff, you know, like that's not my thing. And obviously I'm not dealing it in Mexico. And so when they were ready to handcuff me and take me away.
Really?
And the people on the beach gathered around because they'd already known me for a while. And they're like, no, wrong person, wrong person. And then somebody translated and then they apologized and stuff like that and kind of slapped me on the back and took off. And I'm like, I wanted to leave Mexico right there. And then I realized, okay, I got to pay attention to who I hold court with and who you hang out with. That really makes a difference. And I need to really not just trust everybody real easily. You got to go into it slowly and read the room, feel it out.
So let's fast forward a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're in 2023. You've
Mm-hmm.
just sold your house.
Yep.
You've been on the road. It's your first night on the road in your element. Like, what was that like for you?
Exciting. And there were a few seconds here and there of like, I was like, did I make the right decision? And am I going to be okay? And what's next? And then as I got going on the road, there were a couple times when, I'd get out of my car in the morning to do something and people would see me and I would think, oh God, do they think I'm like a loser homeless person? And then after a while, that just started to melt away like, oh, brush my teeth, get ready, make coffee almost anywhere. I open my rig and people are like, wow, what's going on in there? And I keep myself cleaned up. I keep my vehicle cleaned up. I keep it looking nice. I keep it running really well. And just slowly all that stuff has melted away where now it feels like very natural. Like I see myself doing this for half of the year and having a home base for half of the year. I don't see myself stopping it until I'm not able to do it.
Where is home base going to be? Do you know?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't. I still am very madly in love with the West Coast, specifically this area. Not Eugene or Portland. They're kind of blown out. The pandemic destroyed them. And politically, they're just a bit wild for me.
Yeah.
Don't know.
That's exciting.
But I can't seem to get myself off of the West Coast. Like I fell madly in love with the Sunshine Coast this summer. But it's not attainable or affordable for me. I should say, like, I mean, I can do anything I want. That's the kind of attitude I have. I just don't feel like working so much to afford that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep myself working to fulfill my soul and my creativity and also my pocketbook and sustain me and my lifestyle, but not losing my life or my lifestyle to that.
So the Sunshine Coast is California, I assume?
No, the Sunshine Coast is off of British Columbia. So it's still the mainland, but you have to take a ferry to get it because there's no way to carve a highway to it.
Okay.
So you take one ferry to get to Gibson's, where Molly's Beach is. That's where The Beachcombers was filmed.
Oh, okay.
And then you take another ferry to Powell River. And then from Powell River, there's a road that goes up to Lund. And Lund is the most northern point that you can go in British Columbia. And it's actually very close to Ketchikan, Alaska. And it's on the inside passage of the land that goes to Alaska.
I need to study my geography.
You do?
Like,
I know, right?
In this area, like
everybody, just Google these
right,
areas.
I'll overlay it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I'm so curious then, like where you're gonna end up.
Me too.
Because it's like but you've been on the road for like 20 months.
Yeah.
And now you've gone to all sorts of different places to explore.
I've crossed the country.
Yeah, you see different areas like, ooh, that's cool, but
Yeah.
then there's this and there's that. But the Sunshine Coast is what's really calling to you.
That area was calling to me.
Okay.
It is. And also the Oregon coast. Well, sort of Oregon, sort of somewhere between the Cascades and the coast is definitely my lane. I love it. I just love that whole area. Yeah.
So you want to talk about something spicy?
Yes.
Okay.
I love spicy.
Let's talk about something
Let's
spicy.
talk saucy.
Should we talk about this little secret that you have coming up soon, or do you want to?
Whatever you want. It's your interview.
All right. Well, let's hold off on that. Give them a little cliffhanger.
Okay.
So
Come back for that.
Let's come back for that. How do you are you dating like while you're in?
No. Are you kidding? No.
Really?
No. So the reason, I guess I should talk about why my element is named the ninth element.
Yeah, that's a great.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Okay.
So I had 9, well, I've had more now, but up until the point that I built the ninth element out, I had 9 deaths in 5 years in my family. So I lost all my immediate family, my mom, my dad, and all my brothers. And then I lost, in that time, an aunt, a sister-in-law who was a wife to one of my brothers who I've known since I was 2. And then days after that, I lost her mom, which was a mother-in-law to me and like a mom to me. And then a friend's boyfriend in a car accident. So it was just this constant, phone calls, like not for happy, And so I just about lost myself.
I bet.
Yeah. And so in that time, I chose to watch YouTube videos about things that I wanted, meaning van life and travel and off-grid living, and not necessarily homesteading because I'm not really into farming and that kind of stuff. I mean, I just like living outside. And I just poured all of my energy into that, and it saved my life. And it kept pushing me to make all these decisions to get into this life. Sorry,
No, it's okay.
it's these are tears of sad and of happy. Yeah.
I mean, I can't.
It's
That's gotta be
it's a
so
hard
hard.
topic to talk about because it's so extreme of the amount of loss that I've had. And it's, I mean, I'm sure there's lots of people that can relate since the pandemic happened, you know, because we've lost so many people during the pandemic. Um, and it's like, it's something I'm going to be processing for a long time. And so dating and grieving have not gone together. And I feel like I'm, you know, mostly through the hardest part of it. You know, like I chose therapy and I chose medication to get me better. And now I'm not doing either. Like I'm living my life, you know, and living it the best way I know how. But dating it's just not on my radar. And I've also noticed in this time too of doing this lifestyle, I'm getting really self-centered. You know, where I don't really feel like managing or negotiating my time with someone else. I love the freedom of just being able to go wherever I want. I don't have to check in with anybody. I don't have to make sure that someone else is okay or they want to do what I'm doing. Um, I'm free. Like it's an amazing feeling. It's free, but then it's also met with, you know, this grief. And I don't know how long it's going to take me to ever want. But it's been 7 years now. So,
Well, I mean, that's just like you said, such an extreme
yeah.
loss, and it makes sense. You have to you kind of have to be a little self-centered to
Yeah.
just make it day by day. I would
Yeah.
imagine, you know, like
Yeah.
yeah,
Like, I mean, that's part of the reason too why I wanted to sell the house was because nobody was going to be coming. You know, I had this big old house. You know, I wasn't in a relationship at that time. And of course, when that happened, it was like, you know, getting into a relationship was the last thing on my mind. Like it really was. And but then I realized I have this big house, I have these furnished guest rooms, and nobody's coming. So that was depressing. And I was like, I really literally just wanted to burn my life to the ground and start over. So I kind of did that.
yeah, a little bit.
Totally. I did. I mean, getting rid of like all of my monetary possessions, except for the precious things, because, you know, I'm going to have a house again someday. So getting rid of all of this stuff that I identified myself as, you know, I was in this status category. You know, I lived in a very affluent neighborhood. I lived in a beautiful house. You can see it on my channel back, you know, when I started my channel. Like I show my house in there in gatherings with friends and stuff. But it it didn't it it just didn't feel like me anymore. It didn't. And then I just started making these like rapid decisions, and here I am.
So, at one point, did you start to share content on YouTube, and what led you to that decision? Because you said you were watching things while you know you were dreaming about this like van life thing.
Yeah.
So at what point did you decide, like, you know what, like I'm gonna make some videos. I want to share.
So originally, I was like, I would never do a YouTube channel. I would never share my life. That's just dumb and dangerous. And why would anybody want to watch me? You know, those were all these things. And so I started a channel, not like starting a channel. So my previous employer and I were talking about getting me ready for public speaking. And so something that they do in Toastmasters is,
Oh, you're in Toastmasters.
no, I didn't get to go to
Oh, okay, okay.
Toastmasters, but you film yourself talking about a topic and then you watch it back to critique it so that you can polish up your speaking. And so my boss had asked me to pick a topic and research it and then video myself doing it and then put it onto YouTube because that's a place where we can watch it. And then we can go back and look at that and then talk about like just, you know, maybe things, the way I say things, how I sound, gestures with my hands. Yeah.
Totally.
And so I picked this topic of making a Crisco candle because I really love, I do.
Stop. I know where this is going, but
So I mean, I love the idea of being sustainable, and I love the idea of prepping. Now, I'm not a doomsdayer, but I like to be prepared because we do have power. Like here, I've been in my house when we've had lost power for 10 days, and so what do you do when that happens? And um, I've had my pipes freeze and not have water. So this is the kind of prepping that I was thinking of. And I used to heat my Volkswagen vans with a candle.
it's like all full circle. It's like all
Right.
coming back. Yeah.
So I made this video about this candle, put it on YouTube, and I ended up leaving that job before I could ever talk about it with my boss. Forgot about it. And then the pandemic's happening now. And so I'm making these silly videos about, I don't know, gardening and whatever. And my friend, who I'm actually going to be going away with here for my birthday, we're going to go to a hot spring for my birthday. He calls me at 6:30 in the morning one morning and he goes, "Your video is going viral." And I'm like, "What?" And so I posted this video in November of 2019. 2021 January. What was happening? The big ice storm in Texas. And people were losing their lives. I mean, they had no heat. It was just like this disaster. And so I guess I didn't know about the algorithm. I didn't know anything. Algorithms, searchable words, phrases, blah, blah, blah. The title of my video, which has been plagiarized 30 times since I've done it, and they have way more views than I do now.
Really? Okay.
Emergency heat and light for 72 days. So if you take 6 pounds of Crisco, put some candles in it. Don't do it in the cans now because they're paper, but the old cans used to be metal. That will burn for 72 days at 8 hours a day, and it'll heat a little space. Like it would totally heat this car.
So it was just the right moment at the right time.
And I went from 50 subscribers to 25,000.
Wow.
But now I'm in the prepper lane. And if you preppers are watching, that community is nasty. They're mean. No, they're mean.
Yeah.
No, I got death threats on the video. I had to work with YouTube studio and stuff on that kind of stuff. And it was a real eye-opener about how volatile and vile the internet can be.
Yeah.
With that. It was a real lesson.
Yeah.
But I made a lot of money. And that video supported me for a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, I mean, and then so that happens and I'm like, well, now what?
Yeah.
And people are like, "We're waiting for you to post another video." And I knew that I didn't want to be in that category. I knew enough that I didn't want to. I mean, I could build a channel and probably make a lot of money doing prepping, but I just don't want to deal with the comments on that community.
Yeah.
It's just not a fun community. I mean, you have to pick the community you want to be in, and that's not for me.
So you had this viral video, and you have this captive audience of 20,000 people waiting for a new video of something, and you don't want to be prepping. So you're like, why not Vanlife?
Right. So I did my third no build in 9th and took a 6-week road trip. And I went out to Arizona and New Mexico and traveled with a girlfriend of mine. And we got caught the first day of spring in the Juarez National Forest. I think that's how you say it. So we went to bed. It was like this. Woke up, 14 inches of snow. And I did not have the lift and I did not have winter tires. We were stuck.
Oh, man.
And also when the snow melts, then it turns to that quicksand. So we were looking at being there for a few weeks.
So you pulled out your Crisco and made a little...
This really nice young man, Bryson, came by in his 4x4 and he watches who's the big YouTuber that does rescues?
Oh, I know exactly what
Yeah,
you're
I
talking about.
can't think of the gentleman's name. Great channel. He do you ladies need some help? I'm like, yes. He pulled us out. White knuckling though, like that was scary. Like my car was like sliding behind his car like a little sled all over this road. I was trying to stay out of these big ruts. Oh, it was crazy. And that's when I was like, I got to get this thing lifted and I got to get better tires on it for sure.
Yeah, and your Element has like it's really come a long way.
Oh yeah.
I've never seen it kind of
it's my that was my dream ever since I bought it. Like what I did to it, I've always wanted to do that, but I couldn't afford it. Or I couldn't justify the expense because I owned a house and I needed like the trees trimmed and the roof done, you know, so I had to be responsible with my money because I was a single provider for my household, you know.
But yeah, if you guys want to see your full tour, we did a video a while back.
Yep.
And you can see all.
That's before the lift.
Yeah, that's before.
But that's with the new build.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can see her total build out.
Yeah, and there's a full tour on my channel.
Yeah.
And there's a full tour on I don't know if you've heard of the channel, Tiny Home Tours. There's a full channel there.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, I have to check that out.
Yeah.
So now we can talk about your little surprise here. Yeah. So
yeah. Okay.
you've got this Element. What's its name?
This Element's name, this one? Ninth.
Okay, this is Ninth.
Ninth, yeah.
Okay. So you've got something else you've been cooking up.
I am obsessed with Honda Elements. So I bought a second one with an e-camper on it.
Nice, nice.
Because I want to do the process all over again. I want to lift it, I want to build it, and I want to use that one to travel this next year. So I'm currently building that one out right now. And his name is Tenzi, I think. Tenz-E, Tenzi. 10th.
Oh,
now what this,
okay.
a 10th element. So what this means to me, because I believe in numerology and things like that.
Yep.
Ninth, you know, I had the 9 deaths, but 9 in numerology is an ending. 10 is a beginning. So 9th saved my life, and it's the end of that life. 10th is the beginning of my new life.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what color is this one?
Oh, it's gunmetal gray. It's so sexy, and it has a white top, which Ursa Minor has offered to color match it, but I'm going to leave it white because white is good for reflecting the heat. Right, totally. And I think it looks good.
I mean, it's going to bring you back to your Westfalia days.
Totally.
You know?
That's exactly. Yeah. Well, after I traveled with Miguel, because at first I was like, I'm fine with the size that I have. And I am. So 9th is going to be my overlanding rig. Okay. And 10th is going to be my suburban rig.
Oh, great.
But I'll be able to do both, in both. But I love the idea of being able to stand up inside my car, like just like a Westfalia. And I love the idea of having, like, I mean, I used to love tent camping. I just hated setting that thing up and taking it down. Do you know how easy it is to put up a Honda Element e-camper?
Yeah, just like 2 lashes and
up. And then down.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll pop that thing anywhere. I'm not nervous.
That's rad.
Yeah.
How exciting. So 10th, a new beginning.
A new beginning. So I'm currently building 10th out right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, you guys will see it very soon. By the time this video's up,
it should be. I should have started the build series and sharing it for sure.
That's exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm really addicted to Honda Elements and totally rehabbing them the way that I like to do it. Yeah. I think I've designed a really good style, and it's kind of like my trademark. And I would love to have, please don't anybody steal this name, I want to have a Honda ranch, a Honda Element ranch. And just bring the Honda Elements there and just revive them.
You're not the only one who has said this. I've heard from other people who've wanted to.
They call it the Honda Element ranch?
No, not the Honda Element, but like this idea.
Yeah.
And
I just think it would be amazing.
Yeah.
And then sell them, and just as a little side hustle.
So I mean, this is the whole thing with this. Even with this channel, it's like there's a little, very growing community of just like Honda Element nuts.
We have no idea how big it is really, because every time we do something, it's like tripled in size.
Yeah, it's crazy, and like people are watching these videos because they like Honda Elements, they like overlanding, they like van life, and it's been a wild ride for sure.
Yeah.
And here I am interviewing one of the biggest Honda Element YouTubers. What an honor.
Stephen, I used to follow you before I think I had a channel.
You really?
Well, 19. Would you have had your channel in 19? When did I find your channel?
I don't know.
Because I did comment back when I first started following you. And I wasn't really doing too much. I was one of those, I have a Honda Element too. Yeah.
So let's go way back. So I did have a question.
Yeah.
So you just bought an Element? Like you're just using it as like a car, kind of.
Well, so when they first came out, I was married,
Uh-huh.
and I wanted one
Really?
because I went to a festival in California. I was living in California. I was living in Petaluma, and I was in the wine industry, and my husband was in the music industry. So we did a lot of festivals and events and stuff like that. And we went to a strictly bluegrass. I don't even know if the festival's still happening. Fabulous festival. Love bluegrass.
Yeah.
And this woman who has Nemo, the orange Honda Element on YouTube, she was at that event with her Honda Element, all tricked out.
Oh, okay.
And this is like between 2001 and 2005. I mean, I think she did the video later on. And I was like, this thing is genius. And I was showing my husband, he goes, and not to be derogatory or anything, and you can edit this if you need to, but he was like, it looks like a Mexican Hummer.
Oh, Jesus. Stupid.
And I was like, I don't care. It's awesome. Like, I saw the potential.
Yeah.
I saw everything that the reason that Honda made the vehicle. I saw all those potentials. And at the time, I had a Subaru station wagon and a Prius, the first year Prius, the 2001 Prius. And then when we divorced, I gave him the Prius and started looking for my Element. It took me 2 years to find her.
Wow.
And when I did, the gentleman was selling her for like $14,500, which was still a good deal with 40,000 miles on her. But I only had a budget of $12,500. And I wasn't going to go over it because that's how I am when I get my mind set to something. I was like, no, I don't need to go above this. I can wait. So I got a hold of him and said, you know, if you ever want to sell it for $12,500 and you still have it, I'll buy it. 6 months later, he got a hold of me and I bought it. Yeah.
Wow.
And it's funny because he used to take my Honda Element up to Whistler to go rock climbing. And he was switching the Element for a Westfalia. And I'm like, sucker. Good luck with that. Bet you wish you had the Element now.
So before we started this interview, we were talking about Never Split the Difference in the book, the negotiation book. And that's one of the things they say is like, hey, if you've got a price, like that's your deal. And if you can't work out a deal, you walk away, and it's like, all right, well, you know, if you change your mind, let me know. And
exactly. And I mean, I had $2,500 cash to put down on it, and I was only willing to borrow $10,000 because at $10,000 it was a manageable payment for 5 years.
Yeah.
And again, single person with the house, you know, I needed to be financially responsible. So I knew what I needed and I stuck to it.
Amazing.
And I've had her since 2008. She has 224,000 miles on her today. I've put that many miles on her.
46,000 miles?
40.
Oh.
And her first 27,000 miles, she was flat towed behind an RV. So she wasn't even really driven.
Yeah.
And then he drove it from 27,000 to 40 and sold it to me at 40. And what's the math? I'm not a math elite, but I've 224,000 miles. Nick went through her before I took her to BC, and he's like, she's solid. Running great. She still runs great after all the modification. Runs amazing gas mileage, you know, because I added all the weight and the lift, but she's absolutely amazing. I'm still madly in love with her. I'm not getting rid of her. She's going to go in storage where Tenzi is right now, and then I'll drive both because I can. I don't have a house, but I have 2 Honda Elements.
I have 2 Honda Elements.
Right.
Like, a Honda Element, they'll get more than one for sure.
Yeah, Nick's had 20.
Nick.
And
Nick from Gresham Honda.
Yeah. So he's our Honda Element guru, if you don't know. Gresham Tonkin Honda, is that how you say it?
Yeah, somewhere
like
in the PNW.
Troutdale, Oregon.
Shout out.
Yeah, we leave links in our descriptions to his garage.
Yeah.
I was talking to a gentleman at the meetup yesterday, and he has 3 in his driveway. And he's like, I'm thinking about selling one. Anytime anyone says they were thinking about selling one, I'm like, contact me.
Right? Because you never know.
They're getting rare.
Yeah, good ones.
Yeah, so I started searching for my second one last October when I headed for the East Coast. And I found 3 on my way back, coming back from Florida, but I kept missing them. They doubled in price this past year.
Yeah, easily.
Doubled.
And then who knows what next year is going to look like.
I think I had someone offer me $25,000 for mine.
The green one?
Yeah.
Wow.
With the miles on it. I'm like, God, she's not for sale. It's like selling my child. It's my house.
That's funny. I've been asked before, like, would you trade your Element for like a big truck camper? Because that's like something I would want to do, is like a big truck camper.
Okay.
And like, it just sounds fun to me.
Yeah.
I would totally do it.
You would?
I'm not I like
Yeah.
I love Ellie, but I mean,
Yeah.
it,
But I mean, if that's what you want, that's
yeah,
what you want.
because
No,
like
yeah.
it'd be cool to have like a dog and
Yeah.
like yeah.
Right. So yeah, yeah. I have a friend that has a Winnebago Solus pocket,
Yeah, you
and
told me.
it's a cute little rig. But I mean, I'm so used to traveling compact,
Yeah,
and I'm so used to just sleeping wherever I want.
that's a
I
good
mean,
thing.
you cannot. There isn't there. To me, there's almost no trade-off for that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, seriously, I sleep wherever I want, and everyone goes, "You sleep in this thing?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And then I
Totally.
open the doors, and they're like, "Wow!" And I'm like, "I'm comfortable. I'm safe." I mean, I've already saved myself $60,000 in this past year, not paying a mortgage, or past 2 years, probably even more, not paying a mortgage and not paying utilities or insurance and
Or
taxes.
campsites, I
Or
imagine.
campsites,
Yeah.
yeah, and hotels.
Right.
I mean, I'm not a hotel person anyways. The only time I get a hotel is in Palm Springs with my friends. It's because that's what they want to do.
Yeah.
And I keep pushing the Airbnb. That's what I like, is Airbnbs.
So, okay, this brings
Yeah.
up another great question.
Mm-hmm.
Is so what does your community look like? Because you have friends in Palm Springs, you got
Mm-hmm.
the Honda Element community. Like, how did you go about like meeting this community, and like how do you stay? I guess I just want to say like not by yourself, because I know you're somewhat of a social person, maybe a very social person. So how do you stay connected while you're on the road?
I don't. I'm by myself.
No, well, doesn't
No,
it doesn't the
no,
perception is different.
I know it. I mean, I am. So, like, for example, did I meet Miguel and you guys before we met at the meetup
I know
last year?
I know you
Because
knew Miguel.
yeah, I was coming to see him for the swivel seat
Mm.
install. Because I know, I was coming out of Palm Springs last year, just right after I sold the house and hit the road. So yeah, that's when I met you. It was
Right.
literally that same month
Right.
that I hit the road.
Wow.
So, and I was going to see him for the swivel install. So that was my first meeting with all of you and camping with all of you. There's a live stream on Miguel's channel with all of us, and there's videos with you, and there's videos with me.
Yeah.
So that was the introduction. Because I'm not a groupie, I'm not a joiner, don't like clubs, don't like team sports. I'm a solo. I'm a lone wolf. I'm a feral kitten.
Yeah, that's what you
Yeah.
are. Well, what's your saying? Feral kittens and
Hello, cats and kittens and feral souls and my YouTube darlings. Wasn't that funny with Miguel? So it took him 5 takes to do that.
Oh my god, yeah. That's funny.
So I'm open and welcoming, but I'm also very standoffish. You know, I like to know who's coming towards me and who I'm communicating with and who I'm giving my energy to.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, and you'll figure this out as you grow. It's like life isn't worth it with the wrong people. It's just not.
Yeah.
So I have a very small circle. We're very tight. These are my ride or dies. These are my 4 o'clock in the morning call if I need to. Hey, can I borrow some money? Although I've never had to. Whatever.
Right.
You know, I need to go to the hospital and need help. Can you come and stay? I mean, these are these people, and it's a very small group.
Yeah.
So, and that's what makes me happy.
I don't know if you've ever done this exercise, but there's a few ways to do this. But one way is that you envision your own funeral, right? And you're like, who's there? Who is at your funeral? And that's kind of like, those are your ride or dies.
Which I feel like a lot of people would come, because I have a lot of friends, but I only have a very small group of close friends.
Right.
So I touch a lot of people, and my grandmother, my Nana, she taught me how to make someone feel like they're the most important person in the world and the most special person to me, authentically and genuinely. But I really have, there's a lot of people in my life like that, but there's only a very small group that are really close.
You are very good at that. It's like making someone feel like important, like your energy inclusive, but then also your energy is like very focused. Like you're very present, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, yeah, and I love like eye contact. I love open, honest, authentic communication.
Yeah.
I don't mind sharing, but I also hold back. You know, because sadly, there are people that want to take our personal information and use it against us, and that's just the world we live in.
Yeah.
And so I protect myself from that, mostly because I am very sensitive. I know I might seem like I'm all tough in that, but I'm sensitive, you know? And I don't like having my feelings hurt.
Don't hurt her
Don't hurt my
feelings.
feelings.
I'll
Be
delete.
kind in the comments.
I'll delete every bad comment out there. Don't you worry.
Block that bitch. Oh my goodness.
So, do you have any questions for me, like before we close this out?
Let me think. What's your favorite part about the Honda Element community?
Big gust of wind.
Ooh.
Wow, that's powerful energy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The roof is coming off over there. Hang on, chickens.
There's a chicken coop right
There
there.
is a chicken coop right there.
They're delicious eggs this morning.
They were, yeah. We
Yeah.
had fresh eggs from the chicken coop this morning.
I think the community has been just all around very welcoming and like I want to say giving. Like when I went to Nick's Dice, like I mentioned I had something like wrong with my car. And he's like, oh, let me take a look real quick, and he's just like, it's like boom, it's fixed.
20 seconds.
And you know, I paid obviously, but it was great. It seemed so.
Well, you know it's done correctly.
Exactly. I really enjoy how we're kind of like accepting, you know, like I live in my Honda Element. They're like, oh, that's cool. That's sweet. Tell me all about it. I want to
Right.
know. There's not really much judgment that I've ever
No.
experienced in this community.
None.
Most of the people in other car communities, it's like, because I used to be into like drifting, like Nissan 240 SXs
yeah.
and like tuner cars and stuff like this, and it was all about like, what kind of wheels and tires do you got? Like,
Yeah.
and it's like flashy, you
Yeah.
know? And the Element community is not flashy.
No.
It's like, hey, cool, you go on these adventures, and I like the non-flashy nature of this car community in particular.
And how you can be so simplistic.
Right. Right.
Yeah, and inspire people to be simplistic. Like I tell people, go around your house, grab what you have, and build a little camper in your car.
Yeah.
And it'll just fill you with joy.
I think the other thing I like is that because it's just an empty box, it's like you can see other people's like personalities and creativity come out because it's just a blank slate.
It is.
It's you know, it's an empty platform, and then you can make it however you like, and just to see the creativity of things like the Element we
Yeah.
saw.
Oh my gosh.
That was
yeah.
wild.
It was a Frankenstein car.
Yeah.
It was so great.
So I like that aspect of it, and I've always liked off the cuff different things. Like
Same.
I like Argentine tango. Not a lot of people like Argentine tango.
I didn't even know there was a thing.
Right. I've always like I was into like the rave scene early on, you know, before it got super cool.
Yeah.
I've always liked
The before it's blown out.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I've always just like different. I was never like I could never fall in line with like what society tells
Yeah.
you to do, I think. So I feel like in a weird way the Honda Element is kind of like a rogue
Yeah.
community.
It
you
was. We're making it cool.
know. Are we?
I think so.
Damn.
I mean, I'm proud to be a spearhead in that lane.
Yeah.
I mean, taking this ugly toaster box and turning it into something like legit clutch and cool.
It was an ugly toaster box.
It
Now it's
was.
cool. Yeah.
You know, do you know how many people across country thought my Honda Element was like, is this kind of one of those new Broncos? I'm like,
Yeah.
or is it a Jeep? Do you know, I have 3 ducks. I have 2 ducks and a turtle in my car because you know how in the Jeep community they put
Yeah.
They put ducks on my.
we need to get crabs for us. We got to get little crabs.
We got to get crabs.
Yeah.
I'll look at that. I'll
Yeah.
find that out.
Please
yeah.
do.
I will.
Very
yeah.
cool.
The other thing that I wanted to say about the community, because I asked you what you thought,
Yeah.
was again, I feel so included. I feel like it's ageless. You know, we have people
Yeah.
that are really young
Totally.
to like older than me, and it's like this. There's no age, and there's no like certain demographic.
Yeah.
There's no certain race. It's just this beautiful melting pot. Like it to me is. Like I said, I'm not a joiner, I'm not a groupie, but I'll tell you what, I stand 1,000% behind our Honda Element community, and I love the meetups. Like I get excited for those.
Yeah.
And I will go to as many as I can.
Like I drove all the way to Oregon for one.
Yeah,
and
you did.
Washington for one.
And Washington,
and North Carolina next year for one.
That would be cool. I'd
Yeah.
love to go to North Carolina next year. We'll have to see if
Elements
I can
on
make
the
it.
Dragon.
Elements on the Dragon. Yeah, I'd love to go to that.
Cool, Mindy. This was fun. This
Yeah.
was so fun. Thank you
No,
for
thank you so
sharing
much.
your story.
Thank you.
You guys can check out all of her information on YouTube. You can see her build. You can see her adventures
And the new build.
and the new build.
The new build is
10th.
mm,
10th
beautiful.
element. I'm excited to see
10Z,
it.
10th
10,
element.
10Z.
I don't know if it's 10th. I might do a poll on my channel asking you all to, well, this might be done by this point, but name ideas.
Yeah.
Because there's no custom plate on it yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Cool. Well, thank you again.
Thank
Really
you so
appreciate
much,
you for your
Stephen.
time, and thanks for breakfast this morning. That was
You're
amazing.
welcome. Yeah, we're staying at my little room that I rent in Eugene right now. So when I come back to Eugene, this is where I rent a room.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoy these videos, be sure to subscribe for more. And thank you to our sponsor, Heroes Hot Rods, for the seat that Mindy's sitting in right now.
Austin, we love you, Austin. He's so awesome.
Isn't it cool?
This is a game
I
changer.
know.
Everybody has to have one.
Yeah.
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 Love it.
My second element's getting 2 for sure.
2. Look at you. You're
Yeah,
fancy.
You know, it's gonna be
Yeah.
a whole thing. So yeah. Again, thank you guys so much. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, we'll see you soon.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Peace.